Whatever. If we're just going to work with this as is, I think it's recording. Welcome to Comical Recovery. I'm your host with the most trauma and frustration, comedian Jessica Byrne, creator of the upcoming cartoon Buddies, winner of multiple East Coast comedy contests and tongue twisters, apparently, 35 consecutive years of life experience in the School of Hard Knocks. Subscribe, hit the like button for recognition. Tell all your friends about your new addiction because sharing is caring. And I have a host, my bestie, Jen. We have been struggling all night because of my character defects and inability. What?
I said, it's all right. We got this.
Yeah. And my inability to be tech savvy. So every complication I can possibly have, we are having today, which is super duper fun. We have already recorded this podcast, and now you guys are invited to join us. Just kidding. We didn't record anything because I didn't hit the right button. Freaking genius over here. But we did already talk about this topic, so let's do it again. Let's do it again. And again and again and again. So we're doing holiday family drama. But we have family drama all year long.
You do. You're the lucky one.
Yes. So if you don't have family drama or your spouse doesn't have family drama, then this probably doesn't pertain to you. But if you do, welcome. Welcome to the chaos that is Jennifer and Jessica, because that's what's happening today. God help us all. So, what do we do when we have a toxic family or family member? We don't just have one. I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem like you do. Right, Jen?
Yeah,
No.
I have multiple.
Yeah, and we like to date toxic people because, like, how boring would life be if we didn't?
Yeah.
But actually, I'm not dating a toxic person right now, so win. Oops, dang it. Oh!
Well, kudos to you.
I knew all my F-bombs weren't out for the intermittent. I know, whatever. I'll see if I can edit that out. Dang it, dude. Anyways, the next question I have on my list is, how long do we spend with these toxic people during the holidays? We limit our time if we can. How do we manage our feelings about these toxic MFers? How do we fill our self-care cup before and after the interaction, which we have already discussed that can be a dangerous freaking tightrope to walk based on filling your cup, meaning the narcissistic parent gets to drain you dry. Crickets? All right, so should I go into my quotey quotes since we'll just roll through it. The first book that I have is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and it's talking about like how you do this in business, but it totally pertains to our toxic families. So it doesn't start this way, by the way, because I totally edited everything that I've written. So in our own lives, we aren't content to deal with things as they happen. We dive endlessly into what everything means, whether it is fair or not, what's behind this or that, and what everyone else is doing. Then we don't have the energy to deal with our own problems, or we get ourselves so worked up and intimidated because of our overthinking that if we'd just gotten to work, we'd probably be done already. The point is that most people start from a disadvantage, often with no idea that they're doing so, and do just fine. It's not unfair, it's universal. Those who survive it survive because they took things day by day. That's the real secret. Then it says, focus on the moment, not the monsters that may or may not be ahead. Yes.
Monsters meaning parents?
Well, yes, for us. I don't know. Do other people have monsters, like cousins or aunts and uncles? I think so. I think comedians...
I feel like everyone at least has one family member that is just like, oh, I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah, I feel like comedians always have like an aunt or uncle, but maybe they're just hiding under the aunt or uncle because it would be like too much to talk about it actually being their parent. It's like, listen, I already know holidays are going to be horrible. I don't need to talk about these people on stage too.
Yeah, this is true. You don't want to give them too much screen time, yeah?
I know. That's actually the worst part. You know, my mom said when I started comedy, she's like, you don't do something too bad. You're not too rough on me, are you? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, there's one really good joke, but it's about like you doing drugs, and you know you don't do drugs, so it's fine. You're not actually a drug addict. It's not even that serious, Mom. Also, I try to avoid doing any jokes about you because I really don't want you in any part of my life, including my career. But not limited to my career. Also noted, she is not on this Facebook page because I don't need to hear about it.
No.
Seriously.
We don't need to give them any more ammunition.
Which is really difficult because they can take anything and use it as ammunition.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're smiling.
Yeah. Why are you so happy?
Smiling?
Yeah. What happened today? What would your mom...
When you leave, you know, when they leave or you leave, and then you're not smiling any longer.
Well, my last conversation with my mom was, there's something wrong with you. I'm like, yeah, I came out of you, for starters. I mean, there's never going to...
In the mirror lately, like...
There's never going to be a day where they're like, there's something so right with you, unless it is... But for me, it sounds like this for my mom. She says stuff like, you look just like me. And I'm like, oh my God. Can I look like my dad, though? Like, can I just throw a mustache on? I'd rather have a permanent mustache and be told I look like my father.
No, I look like my mom, too.
No, I don't look like my mom. She's delusional.
No.
I mean, at least I'll stick to that until I'm dead in the ground.
You're like, I'll never believe it. Not me.
No. I unfriend my mom's friends when they say that.
You're no longer friends. Thank you, Betty.
Yep, you're deleted. Bye-bye. But it's hard to live day by day, you know, I mean, because of that, because especially, you know, both of us having narcissistic parents, it's like, you know, we were talking earlier about going over there and being stressed out for the month beforehand. You said, you know, your stress starts in October and Thanksgiving is in the end of November. And we have to be careful about like what we wear or.
Yeah. Did you brush your hair? Did you do your makeup? Like, you know, you look so tired. Why do you look so tired?
Like, even if you do your makeup nice, they nitpick, like, oh, who are you trying to impress?
Yeah, right?
I'm sorry. I just thought I'd come with self-esteem, but apparently that's not welcome here. I was trying to do something nice for myself before I got here, but I clearly see that you're going to just rip that right from me as soon as I walk in the door. Great.
Yep. Usually the plan.
Yes. So we mentioned before I started hitting the record button. If my mom was here right now, she would love that. Just so you know. Oh, you didn't record half of it? Of course.
Oh, that's so sad.
It probably wasn't that good. Actually, it probably was the best you're going to have, and now you've lost it forever. That's more accurate. Yes, thanks, Mom. And what's cool is like she doesn't even have to be here for me to hear that.
Yeah, isn't that your favorite part?
Yeah.
Just ringing in your head, like. I get that too. It's a real nice voice.
Yeah, you're like getting ready for the holidays, putting like 20 different things on because everything you put on, you hear your mother go, "What are you wearing? You're going to wear that?"
Yeah. Yep.
Ew, that color?
I see the clothes in my head.
All right, so Complete Healing by Mary Ann. She says that she's got, well, first of all, she got a chapter about impossible people, which I like, but it says that the quote in the beginning, it says, people at war with themselves will always cause collateral damage in the lives of those around them. And then I'm going to I'm just going to skip the other stuff because basically she's talking about how I'm skipping all that crap. Here, we'll go to the good quote that I like. We have to look at those parts of ourselves that we are not so proud of. I get so tired of watching these porcupine people stab their quills into everyone and every good thing around them, always catching us off guard. I can feel the hatred and the heavy energy even before I know they're coming. It's that bad. As much as I don't want to admit it to myself. It all makes me feel like such a failure, as it is the opposite of my mission to love unconditionally. Yet I do love them, albeit from a distance, mostly out of the quill firing range. There is no safe place. They will find you like a toxic, heat-seeking missile. And I feel like that perfectly describes our families.
Yeah. Like a nice dark cloud rolling in, you know?
Yeah, and the heat-seeking missile is like the thing that, like the heat-seeking missile is like trying to find your insecurity for that day. It's like before you even walk in the door, it's like their spidey senses are tingling. Like, I bet Jessica feels fat today. Did you gain weight? Yes, Mom, I did. You know why? Because I eat chocolate all the fucking time. Yeah, all day.
Listen, what are you going to do with all that leftover Halloween candy?
I'm so glad. What's that?
You gotta eat it.
Yeah. But I hear your mom already. But do you have to eat the whole thing? Am I wrong, Jen? Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right. My mother would actually throw it out. She'd rather throw it out than see me eat it. She's like, no, you don't need that at all. Did you really need a third piece? Are you serious? I don't care if it's fun size, Jennifer.
Well, Mom, I have a child in the back of the car, so obviously I can't drink shots all night like I'd like to. I'd like to just check out and be here in body and not in mind or spirit.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a shot of pixie dust and you're going to leave me alone.
So I wanted to mention that your mom has recently morphed into a new person because of the guy she's dating. And I know that...
Yeah, that's wonderful.
What's that?
I said, oh yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So I know that as a narcissist, they are chameleons and based on what's the most socially acceptable behavior. So they seek to be around likable people so that they can mimic their behavior. And although we want to hope the best, and that can be really confusing because our brain wants to convince ourselves that they've actually changed. And in your experience, like, and how she continues to treat you, is that true? Do you find that to be true? That she's actually changed, or it's just like a fun little mask that she puts on and dances around in occasionally?
I don't know. I feel like it's always going to feel like it's a mask. It never feels genuine, sadly enough.
I mean, she's basically herself when she's not around this new guy anyways, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And then, like, anytime she's, like, talking to him on the phone or whatever, it's just, like, you know, like, oh, like, all, like, sweet tones and nice and happy. And then, you know, she'll go back to cursing and being her usual.
So she even goes so far as to not curse around this dude?
I mean, she curses, but she's not as aggressive as, like, normal.
When you say aggressive, it absolutely reminds me of when I was at your house and I was coloring with colored pencils, and she's like, "Who's using crayons?" I'm like, "It's what?"
Exactly.
She went crazy on that, dude.
Level is, like, just, like, through the roof for no reason. It's just like, well, what is your beef?
I have never in my life experienced someone lose their cool over coloring.
No.
Who's being creative in here? I don't like it. Okay. Are you using your imagination? You're too old for that.
Get a job.
You need to get a job and be miserable like the rest of us.
Doing coloring. Are you kidding me?
What a waste.
Oh, go work.
So that we can ask you for rent. Sorry. We also want you to supply not only your child, but us with food next door, because we can't adult by ourselves.
Can you bring everything along with the kid, including every snack and drink you would need? Thank you.
Also, we're not going to give it back, but we're not going to drink it. Oh, boy. So I have 2 more book references. Let's see how we do with this. So there's another one that I pulled out, and it's actually both of these I figured out after the fact that they're written by the same author. So the first one is Another Chance, and it's the hope and health for the alcoholic family. And although some of our families might not be alcoholic, you know, it's just that chapter 3 has this section, it's the anatomy of the family. So I thought that was kind of interesting. She said, some families function in a way that encourages health and wholeness. Others, however well-meaning, seem to create stress and pain. There's a quote in the book from a family therapist, Virginia Satire, and she has a book called People Making, and describes the physical body aches she has as soon as an unhealthy family comes through her office. And it says, I began to understand why so many of the members of troubled families are beset with physical illness. Their bodies are simply reacting humanely to a very inhumane atmosphere. In troubled families, the bodies and faces tell their plight. Bodies are either stiff or too tight or slouching. Faces look sullen or sad or blank like masks. Eyes look down and past people. Ears obviously don't hear. Voices are either harsh or strident or barely audible.
And I'm like, what is this book? Because I almost want to get it immediately.
It's called Another Chance, and it's Hope and Health for the Alcoholic Family by Sharon Wegscheider-Cruz. And
okay.
I'll send you a picture of the top of it. It's the second edition. It's really good. Yeah. I wrote that quote down because I knew that you would be able to relate to the descriptions of, not only the feelings, but the body stuff,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm like migraines all the time, stomach aches, back aches. Like, yeah, there's issues that come along with all the stress.
Well, yeah, we were talking earlier today about, how your son always wants to talk to your mom and you don't want to take that away from him, but you just hearing her voice can actually end up having a lot of those symptoms.
Yeah, it's just a trigger for me sometimes. Sometimes it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of it has to do with how she treats him well, and you were not treated like that. And our conversation reminded me a little bit about how I felt when COVID happened. My dad took over and started homeschooling my brother and sister, who are significant difference in age to me. And I got jealous, I got really jealous about how, they got a full-time dad, and I had to kind of work through that.
Yeah.
And just be happy for them that they got something that I didn't get instead of being mad about it, because it wasn't going to help anything. If I was upset, it's not going to change anything, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, I get it 100%.
And even like when it talks about the eyes looking down and past people, like I feel that I can relate to looking down, but I can relate to the having my mom or someone in my family, like the feeling of them looking past me.
Yeah.
And obviously we know about the harsh voice, that crap,
Yeah.
So.
The ringing in the head.
Yeah. But I bring this to the table because I recognize the behaviors, that we deal with in both myself and family members. And, I think it's important to recognize and pay attention to our feelings, our body language, because it's an opportunity to practice self-care and boundaries and discover how we might actually fill our cup before and after, which, we briefly talked about how, when you're dealing with a narcissistic family member, it's almost dangerous to fill your cup beforehand. That's such a tricky thing to think about. I think that for me, if I had to find the best coping skill, to be around my family, I would say I would probably want to gray rock my mom, and give her as little bit of details. And I don't know that I'd want to fill my cup up and feel really good because, like I said, she would try to suck me dry of that energy. Instead, I'd want to be really boring, and just not tell her any details of my life. Last time I talked, I slipped up and said I had a boyfriend, and I was kicking myself the rest of the day. I was like, dang it, why did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I immediately was like, it probably won't last. She was like, just, why would you say that? And I'm thinking, because I don't want you to know I'm happy.
Yeah.
I want you to think I'm miserable. I'd rather have you play off of those emotions than try to steal my joy.
Yeah. They have a way of doing that. They get any information. They're just like, ooh, I can take that.
Yeah, sometimes they don't even use it right away. Sometimes they put it in their pocket and save it for later. I'm like, ooh, that's a juicy detail. I think I will use that to stab you right in the face. Oh, good. Yay, I'm so glad I handed you the knife. So the other book this lady has is Learning to Love Yourself and Find Your Self-Worth. So I quoted on page 30 of this book, because so much of our reality deepens on the knowledge of our feelings, we walk through life both confused and overwhelmed. If we were not aware of our own feelings and the feelings of others, So we walk through life confused and overwhelmed if we're not aware of our own feelings and the feelings of others. Understanding the language of feelings is the key to master ourselves. With increased knowledge, one can become free of negative feelings so that higher, more creative energy can be released. As more creative energy is released, more feelings of fear and pain subside. This is the other side of the vicious circle. It's the self-reinforcing cycle of positive feedback. So, I mean, with our family dynamics, I feel like I said, the best way for me to fight it off is to act really bored and boring, not have a lot of energy around my family members, definitely not show them any sadness or weakness, but then, figuring out how to fill my emotional cup after I've left their presence is, the biggest self-care tool I think I can have. And I don't know what you do. And I haven't really thought about what I do. I honestly don't know that that's a practice that I have. The only practice that I have around my mother is when I physically saw her, I made sure I had a meeting to go to before and afterwards. And that was my out. That was my excuse for not being around for very long.
Yeah. I think that's always a good excuse.
Do you have any self-care practices that you use when you're done seeing her? Is there something that brings you joy and kind of makes you not ruminate over what had just happened in the last hour or 2 hours, however long you spent with them?
I'm over here laughing because I'm I napped.
Yeah, you know what? Seriously. I get that. I totally get that because they suck your energy dry no matter what.
I immediately need a nap.
Does that help?
Yeah, that always helps.
That's good.
Because, you need to recharge after that. Because, I'm the opposite of you. When I go out, especially with my family, I enjoy making everybody laugh because it's the best way to have a good time. Instead of, focusing on, their negative stuff that they try to do. So I just turn everything into a joke.
That's good.
But that's very draining,
Yeah, because you're giving,
Yeah.
And in the same tone, deflecting all the BS. So I like that, though, as a coping tool while you're in the presence of insanity.
Yeah. The least we could do is laugh together,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm yeah. I went no contact with my mom for 3 years and she was still Facebook stalking me. And so she found out I was doing stand-up and she was like, I started doing stand-up when I started talking to her again. And I was like, oh, that's so good. I'm proud of you.
That's so weird. Thanks for that.
No, really, what my tone was saying was, I freaking hate you. Why don't you pick a thing for you to do all by yourself? You do you. You go be you. Oh, yeah, you can't because you don't have a freaking identity and you got to steal everybody else's. And there are going to be some people that listen to this and go, you shouldn't say that about your mom. She's your mom. No, she's my ovary donor. Thank you very much.
The person that gave birth to me, okay?
I'm like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I harbored in her body for 9 months and then finally got free, okay? That's what's happening. That is all that's happening. And I appreciate your input, but please next time keep it to yourself. Don't guilt me. She can guilt me. Thank you. She's been doing it for years and she's perfected it.
Her job and her job alone, okay?
Right. If I want a guilt trip, I'll drive to Wisconsin.
I'm over here you're going to drive? You won't pick up the phone?
Oh, yeah, well, I could just warp there with the phone call. But I was trying to make a joke out of the trip, Jennifer.
Sorry, phone call is just enough for me. I'm you're going to do it in person? You got some
Yes, I do. My well, last time I talked to my mom, she had my grandma there, so that was the guilt trip. Like to keep me on the phone was to have my grandmother there, and they were trying to convince me to come up there, and she goes, "There's AA meetings up here. I'll find you one." I said, "I can find a meeting. I promise you, I won't be able to find a meeting all by myself, and I will find a meeting if I go up there." I will. I'll find all the meetings. It'll be like 1 hour at a time I spend with you, and then I'll go, "I need another meeting." And she'll be like, "Why are you going to so many meetings?" "Because I need lots of meetings so I don't pick up lots of drinks."
Even every other hour that I spend with you. K.
Why were you gone for 3 hours, Jessica? Because it took an hour to drive to that meeting and an hour to drive back.
They didn't have any close enough.
I didn't care if they had any close enough. I picked the furthest meeting away, actually. And no, I'm not.
Sorry, I had to drive home for a meeting.
Yeah. I'll see you next year. Bye. That was a good hour. Oh my gosh. Well, I think that I hope that we tried to leave it on a positive note of how to, find a solution in that issue. But my solution, if I had to deal with her in person, would be to take lots of breaks as far away as possible. And like, we were talking about the self-care in between or after, mostly for our family situation. So, and a nap to recharge, reset, and forget.
Always a nap.
Always the nap. All right. So let's see. I'm like, so if you're like old me, don't keep everything inside your head like a destructive swirling tornado wreaking havoc into your future. Let's vomit it out together into one big, beautiful trauma-bonded relationship of healing, sharing experience, strength, and hope. Thanks for listening, sharing, subscribing, and passing me around like your favorite doobie. Remember, laughter is the best medicine and sharing is caring. We will see you next time for more comical recovery with your friend and host, comedian Jessica Byrne, and my bestie, Jen. Until next time.